If you've made it this far, I would say you like to make characters, either for a hobby or perhaps you're part of the lucky few that do it for a living. I bet you wish you could make your characters better, more fleshed out, unforgettable to yourself, your players, or anytime you trade stories. By the end of this video, you'll be making more memorable and impactful characters with the tried and true blueprint I'm going to lay forward for you, covering all your bases, making sure you have a fully fleshed out, fully thought out, dynamic character. To start off, let's think of the numerous ways we use characters. If you're usually just a player, then it's easy. You really just have to focus on one character. That's not entirely true either, is it? You could be a massive boon to your game master and help develop more side characters, have them be fleshed out in your player character's backstory. However, the next role is, in a lot of ways, the lion's share as to why we're here. You got two groups that fall under the same umbrella. You're either the game master, or perhaps you've tuned into my videos because you intend on writing a book or another story. Either way, either role is going to get you in the same boat. You're going to be making numerous characters, I dare say countless some days. And while you don't have to have every character fully detailed and developed, you're gonna want your key characters to be at that next level. Without further ado, let's hop in. M is for motivations. What makes someone want to leave their normal life? Is it a prophecy? Vengeance? A desire to help everyone else? This is one you'll want to really think on, because you want to ensure that you're a good adventurer. You want to be a good adventurer for your DM, and for your fellow players at the table too. You want to make sure you're making appropriate and engaging characters for said group. There's a bit more on this one at the end, so I won't spend too much time here, but you want to be sure you are making a good adventurer and a good character. A is for abilities. This is where mechanics matter, both where you envision your character, but also the mechanics of the game itself. It is your responsibility to know your character and what they can do. The weight of the world is already on your GM's shoulders. Don't put anything else on them. Have a good understanding of the game you're going to be playing. In addition, if you know where you want your character to go, tell your dungeon master. This allows them to properly move things in the direction to reach your end goal. If you have a fighter that one day you'd like to be a symbol like Captain America or as powerful as the mighty Thor, let your DM know. They may not be able to promise you that you'll get there, but they can at least set you on the right direction. G is for goals. What do you want your character to accomplish? This has to go hand in hand with what I was talking about previously. What needs to happen for them to consider hanging up their sword or spellbook? Are they avenging a loved one? Are they saving their kingdom? Wanting to make their dad proud? Be sure you're thinking of something that can't easily be attained in a day of hard work, or something that they'll just give up on one day. This goes hand in hand again with where I say you want to make a good adventurer. Their goal needs to be something that is facilitated over the length of the campaign. You don't have to be avenging your dead kid or wife the whole span of the campaign, but you want it to be there long enough to where your player is now invested in the party and the party's actions, so that way once their personal quest is resolved, they're still there, they're still engaged. P is for persona. This is the chunk that involves role-playing. Think of this as your chance to nail down how they act. How do they carry themselves every day? Maybe consider how they talk to strangers. Are they different around trusted allies? Crowded social settings. How do they present themselves? Think of how they sound, how they stand. Anything else and everything that can inform your role-playing decisions comes right here. I is for instabilities. Now, you all know Brian from Barge Games tends to help out with these ideas. This is one that, when I was rereading the notes he was kind of bouncing back and forth with me on, I couldn't think of any better way of summarizing. So, I is for instabilities. If you tell the player to make you a character flaw, you're usually going to get one of three things. A, you get a job interview answer of, I am too much of a perfectionist. B, you get the edgelord loner answer of, I don't trust people. Or C, you get a psychopathic flaw that is their entire personality. Instead, an instability is something that unbalances your character. Maybe causes them to act out of character. It can be benign, and they can't help but steal a little bit. It can be an addiction. It can be an obsession. It can be anything that adds a little gray to an otherwise good or evil character. For example, an otherwise noble paladin maybe has a temper if people speak ill of their faith, and they just fly off the handle. Or for an evil character, the horrible, bloodthirsty bandit leader will never ever attack an orphanage, because he grew up in one and never forgets their struggle, to the point that he can be exploited over it. These are all things to think of as nuances. Back to Magpie's words on this one, but these are things to think of the nuances that make your character unique. I think the term unbalances your character is exceptionally useful. Think of what gets them to act a little different than normal, or a lot of different than normal. It can be a fear, an insecurity, a bad habit, any number of things, but don't have it be any of those first three. Don't have it be too safe and boring, don't have it be something that ruins a group dynamic, and don't have it be your whole personality. E is for ethics. Now, this is a subject that can require a great deal of introspection. Maybe a few philosophy classes, some real talk with some close friends. However, for your characters, this is where the what my character would and wouldn't do falls, but don't weaponize it to be a jerk at the table. Just have a general understandings of the codes, creeds, and moral choices your character would make. S is for secrets. This is where the spice comes in. In a lot of ways, this can be the defining trait as to why your character's out there fighting dragons and not tilling the fields back home. This can create drama between the party members and the world at large. If this is an area where you struggle thinking of something dynamic or interesting for your character, reach out to your DM. I promise you there's probably 200 things they would love to insert into a backstory to hint or allude to something in their world building that they're quite excited about. Now, that's the Magpie's method to making better characters, but let me touch on something I alluded to earlier, and lastly give you a resource to kind of help out with it. Two resources, actually. A buddy of mine, Wobble Rocket, recently made a blog that talked about the difference between making a character and an adventurer, and it kind of shone a light on and completely altered where I wanted this video to go. An adventurer is someone who engages with the story. An adventurer almost always has to have a reason to go out and do what they need to do. It's critical to the story, and it's critical to the dungeon master to have players and characters and party members who are willing to go fight their monsters, chase down those leads, be engaged with the world and fixing the problems of the world. Don't just make a loner who's self-interested. Make a character that wants to be an adventurer. If your character doesn't want to be at the table, it'll create an unfun game state. Trust me, I've been there. Down in the description is the link to Wobble's blog, and he has plenty of great articles on his website. But in addition to this, there's something else that I want to touch on. Friend of the channel, Cas, has a book titled What's My Motivation? I think it's pretty self-explanatory where that might fall in here. Motivation is where a lot of people struggle. They can find the idea, they can find the image of their character, but what's the engine? What's the gas in the tank that gets them fighting dragons every morning? Between Cas's book and Wobble's article, I'm sure you'll be fully weaponized to be making more involved, more in-depth characters and adventures, and hopefully with my blueprint, you're going to be doing it more thoroughly, more in-depth. Let me know down below what you guys think. Let me know down below if there's anything more on this subject matter you'd like me to talk about. I'm happy I could lay the groundwork for characters, and hopefully you can give new depth to some of yours. Till we meet again, traveler, Magpie responsibly. Thanks, and thanks again for watching.